welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
So today, we're going to dive into the SAP S/4HANA Cloud Public Edition CS4 CPB 2502 certification exam.
Yeah.
Think of this as, well, kind of your quick guide to getting the main ideas behind this qualification.
Absolutely. Whether you're aiming for career growth, maybe just upskilling, or you're curious about SAP's cloud ERP, this should help.
Exactly. We're going to pull out the key stuff, the actionable insights you need to know.
And it's good to frame this with the exam basics. We're talking 80 questions, 180 minutes, so 3 hours.
Right.
And you need a 71% to pass. It's all in English, and you can take it online, proctored, or, at a testing center.
So that's the structure the learning material is built around.
Precisely, and that's what we're focusing on.
Perfect. So our mission today isn't like a cheat sheet or anything.
No.
It's more about digging into some example questions from the official materials and really getting the why behind the answers.
Understanding the concepts.
Yeah. Let's jump straight in. First up, setting up the kind of the systems skeleton, the organizational structure.
Okay, first question. It asks, in SAP Central Business Configuration, which activities can you perform in the organizational structure configuration phase? And you need to pick 2.
Okay.
Your options are A, add new company codes, B, assign business roles to users, C, define distribution channels, and D, set up approval thresholds.
Right. And the correct answers here, according to the material, are A and C.
That's right.
So adding company codes and defining distribution channels. Now, adding company codes, that seems really fundamental, doesn't it? Like step 1 for setting up a business in the system.
It really is. The organizational structure configuration phase, think of it as laying the absolute foundation. Company codes are essentially your legal entities, the core building blocks. Without them, you can't really do financial reporting or manage specific business units properly. So yeah, foundational is the right word.
Makes sense. And the other one, C, defining distribution channels. What exactly are those in this context, and why here in the structure phase?
Good question. Distribution channels are basically how your products or services get to your customers.
Ah, okay, like direct sales versus wholesale.
Exactly, or online sales, maybe retail stores. Defining these different routes to market is fundamental to your sales setup. It shapes how your sales processes work within SAP, so it's part of that core structure.
Got it. So setting up the main pathways for selling. Now, the ones that weren't correct were B, assigning business roles, and D, setting up approval thresholds. They're obviously important.
Oh, definitely crucial.
But they don't quite fit under structure, do they? What's the thinking there?
Well, you've kind of hit it. Assigning roles is about user permissions who can do what.
Right, authorizations.
Exactly, and approval thresholds. That's about process control, like workflows, who needs to okay things. While they're vital, they fall into different configuration stages, more focused on users and processes, not the basic organizational bones, if you like.
Okay, that distinction makes sense. Different phases for different things. All right, let's switch gears. Question 2 is about the characteristics of SAP S/4HANA Cloud Public Edition. What makes it tick?
Yep. This one asks, which of the following are characteristics of SAP S/4HANA Cloud Public Edition? Again, select 2.
Okay.
Options. A, on-premise deployment. B, quarterly software updates. C, customer-managed infrastructure. D, multi-tenant architecture.
And the answers here are B and D. Quarterly updates and multi-tenant architecture.
Correct.
Quarterly updates. That sounds very cloud. What's the significance of that?
Well, the big thing is you're always getting the latest innovations and compliance features automatically. Every quarter, SAP pushes out updates.
No big bang upgrades.
Exactly. It removes that huge burden and cost you used to have with on-premise systems. You stay current, you get the new functionality, security patches, all delivered pretty seamlessly. It helps businesses stay agile.
Right, less disruption, always current.
Right.
Okay. And the other characteristic, multi-tenant architecture. That sounds a bit jargony. Can you break that down?
Sure. Think of it like a large, secure apartment building.
Okay.
The building itself, the infrastructure, the core software is shared by all the residents, the tenants.
The different companies using SAP.
Precisely. But each tenant, each company has their own private, secure apartment. Their data, their configurations are completely separate and locked down.
Ah, I see. So you share the underlying resources, which makes it efficient.
Yep. Economies of scale, often lower costs.
But your actual stuff, your data, is totally walled off.
Absolutely. Strong security ensures complete data isolation between tenants. That's central to the public cloud model.
That apartment analogy helps. Okay, so the incorrect options were A, on-premise, and C, customer-managed infrastructure. Those are basically the opposite of public cloud, right?
Pretty much, yeah. On-premise means you run it on your own servers in your own building.
Right.
And customer-managed infrastructure means you're responsible for all the hardware, the operating systems, everything underneath. Public cloud takes that burden away. SAP manages the infrastructure.
Frees you up to focus on the business, not the IT plumbing.
That's the idea.
Okay, clear picture forming. Let's move to question 3. This one's about customizing, extending the system, but within the cloud rules.
Right, extensibility. How flexible is it? The question, which options are available when using in-app extensibility in SAP S/4HANA Cloud? This time select 3.
3 options.
Okay. A, add custom fields. B, change standard source code. C, create custom logic using BAIs. D, build custom business objects. E, extend existing Fiori apps.
And the material points to A, C, and E.
Correct.
So
Check.
adding custom fields, creating custom logic with BAIs, and extending Fiori apps. Let's take add custom fields. That sounds pretty straightforward.
It generally is, yeah. Businesses often have unique data they need to track, stuff that isn't in the standard setup.
Like a specific industry code or something.
It could be anything, really. In-app extensibility lets authorized users add these fields to screens and data models without needing to be a hardcore programmer. It's quite user-friendly, adds flexibility.
Nice. Okay, C was create custom logic using BAIs. BAIs. What are those exactly?
Right. BAI stands for business add-in. Think of them as specific hooks or plug-in points that SAP has built into the standard code.
Okay.
They allow developers to insert their own custom logic, maybe a special validation rule, or a different calculation at those specific points without changing SAP's original code.
So you're adding to it, not rewriting it.
Exactly. And that's crucial in the cloud. It means your custom logic doesn't break when SAP updates the standard system. Your enhancements are kept separate but integrated.
Clever. Like designated spots for customization. And E, extending existing Fiori apps. Fiori is the user interface, right? The modern look.
Yep, the user experience layer. And these apps are designed to be extended. Using built-in tools, you can often tweak the UI, maybe hide fields someone doesn't need, rearrange sections, perhaps add some simple functions.
So you can tailor the screen layout for specific users or tasks.
Precisely. You make it more efficient, more intuitive for how they work without touching the core app logic.
Got it. So the ones that weren't correct were B, changing standard source code.
Yeah, that's generally a no-no in public cloud.
Why is that? Stability.
Stability, consistency, upgradability. If everyone starts changing the core code, updates become a nightmare, and the shared environment could become unstable.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And D, building custom business objects. That sounds bigger than just in-app.
It typically is. Building entirely new objects often involves more extensive development, maybe using different platform tools rather than just tweaking things within an existing app. So while possible in the wider SAP context, it's usually outside the scope of simple in-app extensibility.
Right, different levels of customization. Okay, question 4. This looks at a tool for managing all this extending stuff.
Yep, the Extensibility Cockpit app. The question is simply, what can be performed in the Extensibility Cockpit app? Just one answer this time?
Right.
Options. A, monitor available capacity for custom objects. B, create a new sales organization. C, configure pricing procedures. D, transport customer master data.
And the answer is A, monitor available capacity for custom objects.
That's the one.
So this cockpit is like a dashboard for your customizations,
Yeah,
keeping track of how much you've done.
exactly. When you add custom fields, logic, maybe other extensions, they use up system resources, capacity allocated to you in the shared cloud.
There are limits.
There are, yes. The Extensibility Cockpit helps you see how much of that capacity you're using for different types of extensions. It's vital for governance, planning, making sure you don't unexpectedly hit a limit.
Essential housekeeping for customizations. Okay. And the other options, creating sales orgs, pricing, master data transport, those are clearly different jobs.
Definitely. Creating a sales org, that's back to our first question, the organizational structure setup.
Right.
Pricing procedures, that's deep in sales and distribution configuration. And transporting master data, that's data management, moving info around. They're all important SAP tasks, but not what the Extensibility Cockpit is primarily for.
Gotcha. It's specifically about managing the extensions. Okay, final question. Number 5 takes us into SAP Activate, the implementation methodology.
Yes, how you actually do these projects. The question, according to SAP Activate, Which activities are part of the prepare phase? Select 2.
The prepare phase. Sounds like early days.
It is. The options are A. Conduct fit-to-standard workshops. B. Set up project governance. C. Configure the production system. D. Enable team onboarding and access.
Okay, and the answers are B and D.
Correct again.
Setting up project governance and enabling team onboarding. So prepare really means getting the project itself ready to go.
That's exactly it. Project governance means establishing the rules of the road for the implementation. Who's responsible for what? How will decisions be made? What's the communication plan? It's setting up the project structure.
Laying the groundwork for managing the project.
Okay.
And D, team onboarding and access.
That's about getting the actual project team ready, making sure everyone has the system access they need, the tools, the initial training on the project scope, and their role.
So, ensuring the team is equipped and understands the plan.
Yep. Get the governance right, get the team ready. That's prepare.
And the incorrect ones, A, fit to standard workshops, and C, configuring production. Those happen later.
They do. Fit to standard workshops, where you compare business needs to standard SAP features, that's core, to the next phase, explore.
Okay.
And configuring the actual system, especially production, that's mainly in the realize phase after you've explored and designed the solution. Prepare is purely about that initial setup and readiness.
Right. Follows a logical sequence. Well, that wraps up our sample questions. It's been quite a quick tour, but really useful, I think. So maybe a final thought to leave folks with.
Well, thinking about how fast cloud tech and business needs change, these ideas of in-app extensibility and constant quarterly updates.
Yeah.
How might those two things continue to reshape the future of enterprise software like this? How will businesses adapt to and leverage that constant evolution and built-in flexibility?
That's a great question. Constant change versus tailored solutions. Something to definitely chew on.
Indeed. The landscape's always shifting. Understanding these fundamentals is key.